नमस्तुते। तप्त कांचन गौरांगी राधे वृंदावनेश्वरी वृषभानुसुते देवी प्रणमामि हरिप्रिये। वाञ्छाकल्पतरुभ्यस्य कृपा सिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंदा। हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So welcome to the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Southern Division, defining the components of rasa. We have been up till now discussing the overviews of Vibhav, Anubhav, Sattviki Bhav, and Vyabhichari Bhav. And then we are going to start with verse by verse discussion on the Stahi Bhav. So up till now we have the overview of Vibhav, overview of Anubhav. And in the last class we had overview of Satvik Bhav, but we had partially completed it. So today we'll complete this discussion on the overview of Satvik Bhav, and tomorrow we'll begin with overview of Vyabhichari Bhav. And then in our next classes, we will have the verse to verse discussion. So in this Satvik Bhav, we first saw what is the definition of Sattva and Satviki Bhav. And in that, there are three types: Snigdha, Digdha, and Ruksha. Snigdha is experienced by devotees who are related to rasas. They are related to rasa and Krishna. And there can be Mukhya or Gaun. Digdha are experienced by devotees not related to rasa with Krishna. It is not related. So it is it's not related. And Ruksha is experienced by persons with Ratyabhas. They don't have real Rati. So this is what in the last class, if you remember, first we went into Jaiva Dharma explanation, what is Sattva, and then we went into the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu of these three types, and all the three types definitions we saw, with examples we saw. So I will not take that recap. It's everything is summarized here. Snigdha is Mukhya and Gauna. Sattvic vibes that arise when the heart is overwhelmed by Mukrati from direct contact with Krishna. Like Srimati Radharani, hearing the flute, she becomes stunned. And so this is happening because of the Snigdha Mukhya Sattvic Bhav. And Sattvic Bhavs that arise when the heart is overwhelmed by Gaunrati, that are induced by a circumstance which Krishna is somewhat apart. So we saw Krishna is in Mathura and Nand Maharaj leaves Krishna and comes back. And Mother Yashoda is angry with Nanda. She manifests anger. And she experiences, change of color and all that. So that is, change of color is a Sattvic Bhav, but it is arising from the Gaunrati. Whereas the Digdha is when some particular Bhav overwhelms the heart of the devotee, which is not induced by Mukrati or Gaunrati, but which follows in the wake of Rati, is called Digdha Sattvic Bhav. Like Madhu Yashoda is sleeping and she sees in the dream that Putana, her huge body, she sees this in the dream and she's terrified. She's rolling in the ground. So Sattvic bhavs are experienced by her, but it is not directly induced by Mukhi or Gaunrati. And that dream experience, and she's rolling on the ground, she has love for Krishna and Vatsalya. So she goes and searches Krishna. Oh, Krishna, where are you? So that is the bhava. She is rolling on the ground because of the dream is Digdha. Whereas Ruksha is because it is because of Ratyabhas. There is no Rati. Hearing some, Krishna katha, suddenly one experiences astonishment hearing the Krishna's qualities and hair stand on end. He doesn't have actual rati, so that's why it's called as ruksha. Okay, so now having understood these three types of satvik bhav, now the causes of these eight satvik bhavs. Chittam satvi bhavet prane nyasyatmatmanam udbhatam pranastu vikaryam gachan deham vikshobhyatyalam tadastambadayo bhava bhakta dehe bhavantyami. When the heart, chittam, becomes, now again, chitta here, please remember it is the purified state of consciousness. Shuddha sattva, visheshatma. It is the purified state. Becomes overwhelmed with a bhav related to Krishna, satvi bhavat. It offers itself, nasyantya atmanam, to the prana with force. So that, that emotion is coming or springing from the soul, that bhava. So the bhava bhakti and prema bhakti, and especially when Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Eastern Division Sadhana Bhakti, while describing Sadhana Bhakti definition, before that he speaks about there is two types of bhakti, Sadhana Bhakti, Sadhya Bhakti, and within Sadhya there is bhava and prema. And then he goes on to define what is bhava bhakti, because distinguish between bhava bhakti and prema bhakti. So this bhava bhakti, he says also harda bhakti, harda rupa bhakti. Harda means the heart. So the soul has the one of the parts which is the emotional aspect. So these emotions come from the soul and they offer themselves to the prana with force. They come with force. So the prana undergoes change. Pranams to vikaram gachan and disturbs the body. Deham vikshobhyat alam. So the prana undergoes change and disturbs the body. Then the sattvic bhav such as paralysis, stambadayo bhava become visible in the devotee's body. Bhakta deha bhavanti ami. So here, in contact with produces, the prana producing the emotions of the soul are here and it interact with the prana, and the prana goes and disturbs the body. The body is made of earth, water, fire, air or ether. So when the prana goes and disturbs the earth element, prominently, it is stamba, becoming stunned. Water element in the body, there is tears. The fire element, there is sweda, perspiration and vivarnium, the change of color. The sky, there is loss of consciousness. And in air, there is romancha, kampa, and swarna beda. So there is horripilation, this is mild. Kampa is moderate. Swarna beda is intense. So that's how it happens. Now, let us see. Te stambasveda romancha swarabhedo atavepata vaivarnyam ashruparayate ashto satvika smrita. So these are the eight. So we saw this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Each for earth and water element, 2 for fire element, 1 for sky element, and for air there are 3. The 8 Sattviki bhavas are paralysis, perspiration, hair standing on end, choking of the voice, trembling, changing color, tears, and fainting. Prabhupada, there are 8 symptoms of existential ecstatic love: becoming stunned, perspiring, hair standing on the body, faltering of the voice, trembling of the body, changing of the bodily colors, shedding of tears, and devastation. Now, how it happens, I've already explained in the chart there, but Rupa Goswami in the verse mentions Chatvari Shamadhi Bhutani Prano Jattu Avalambyate Kadachit Swapradhana San Dehe Charanti Sarvata. The prana takes shelter, Prano Jatya Avalambate, of the 4 elements earth, water, fire, ether, Chatvari Shamadhi Bhutani, and sometimes takes shelter of itself. The prana One of its is air. Kadachit swapradhana. The prana then moves throughout the body. San deha charanti sarvatra. Then, when the prana takes shelter of the earth element, paralysis arises. When the prana takes shelter of the water element, tears arise. When the prana takes shelter of the fire element, perspiration and change of color arises. When the prana takes shelter of the ether element, fainting arises. When the prana takes shelter of itself to a small degree, the hair stand on end. When the prana takes shelter of itself to a moderate degree, the body shakes, kampa. When the prana takes shelter of itself to an extreme, tivratva, bhedabhak, the voice chokes up. So now you can understand if you're experiencing choking of the voice, then the prana has taken shelter of the air element, and there is in one sense, there is huge choking happening, huge choking of the voice. So that's how we have to understand. Vishwanath Chakra Thakur. These verses describe the way in which one particular satvika bhav appears. The prana, after the heart has become overcome with emotion and offered itself to the prana. I mentioned the heart here is a spiritual aspect of the soul. Sometimes take shelter of earth, fire, or ether, and sometimes of air, which is the basis of prana itself and moves throughout the body. If the prana takes shelter of the earth element, paralysis. Prana takes shelter of air element to a small degree, hair stand on end. Prana takes shelter of the air element to moderate degree, there is shaking of the body. When the prana becomes extremely fixed in the air element, then the voice chokes up. Now, Dham Prabhupada also explains the same thing. I will not go through that. Okay. Next. Because of this, ataha, the Sattviki bhavs produce intense disturbances both externally and internally. Bhaira antascha, the wise Manishipi call prokta, the disturbance of the body, external, tam, the anubhav aspect of the Sattviki bhav. They call it as the anubhav aspect of the Sattviki bhav. And the disturbance to the heart, internal, Isham, the Vebhichari aspect of the Sattviki Bhavatacha. So, we saw Anubhavas are voluntary actions because of the emotions in the heart. They are voluntary. But Sattviki Bhavas are also external. There are external manifestations because of the prana interacting with the elements. And this is not in our control. They are involuntary. So these external are the anubhav aspect of the Sattviki behavior. Why it is anubhav? Because there is external manifestation of that love in the heart. That's why it is the external aspect of the, it is the external aspect of the anubhav. The anubhav aspect of the Sattvik bhav is, and then the disturbance in the heart which happens, it is the Vebhichari aspect of Sattviki bhav. There is the Anubhav aspect of the Sattviki bhav, and there is the Vebhichari aspect of the Sattviki bhav. But please remember that since they are, as we had studied in Jaiva Dharma, since they are separate ingredients, so they are, distinguished. They are not the same. If you remember, we had discussed. Because of what has been explained, Atha, there are manifest strong disturbances externally and internally. This distinguishes the Sattviki bhavs from the Anubhavas, which are called as Udbhasvaras, affecting the body only. So the Anubhavas are called as Udbhasvaras. Bhavata in this verse refers to the Vebhichari aspect of the Sattviki bhav. These symptoms are sometimes manifest internally and sometimes externally. The pure devotee always feels such symptomatic expressions within himself, but being afraid of outsiders, he does not generally manifest them externally. That's what Prabhupada says. Now, I am just, what now further Rupa Goswami does is that he is going to give examples for each of them. He's going to give examples for Stamba, uh, Harsha, Stamba, all he's going to give examples. And paralysis arising from joy from the third canto. The damsels of Vraja, Vajasriyo, after pastimes, Leela, of laughter, Hasya, humor, Rasa, and exchanges of glances, Avaloka, were anguished, Mana, when Krishna left them, Pratilabhya. They used to follow him with their eyes, Drigbir, Anupravratta, and thus they sat down with stunned intelligence, Dhyo, a Vatas to be, and could not finish their household duties. Stamba, they used to become stam. Khila, Krita, Shesha. So, what Rupa Goswami does is also, I'm just taking scene, okay. I will take another example to show. 1 minute, let me go to the 7 division, third wave. To make it clear, I'm not going to go now in detail for each of these Stamba. Yeah, Stamba is here. Okay, let's see Stamba. Paralysis. Stambo Harsha Bhayascharya Vishadamarsha Sambhava Tatra Vag Adi Rahitam Nishchalyam Shunyatadaya. Paralysis. First he defines what is Stamba. Paralysis arises from joy, Harsha. Fear. When somebody becomes fearful, he becomes stunned, He hears a very devastating news. Astonishment, seeing something phenomenal, you might become suddenly stunned. Disappointment, Vishad, Arjuna became stunned because of lamentation that all these people will be killed. And he was experiencing that. And indignation, Arsha. There is immobility, Tatra Naischalyam Shunyatadaya, of the action senses and knowledge gathering senses, Vag Adi Rahitam. So this happens. Now, what Rup Goswami does is stamba arising out of joy. Now, this was that example, arising out of joy. Then stamba arising out of fear. Then stamba arising out of ascharya. Then stamba arising out of vishada. Then stamba arising of arsha. All these 5 examples he gives from the Shastras. And similarly, he does for all the Sattvic Vikars. So this is what I am not going to go in detail for each of these definitions, but I'm just summarizing everything here. So there are these 8 Ashtasattvic Vikars, Stamba, and he loses voice, suspension of the functions of both working and knowledge acquiring senses we saw. And Stamba arises from jubilation, fear, astonishment, despondency, and anger. And as I mentioned, for jubilation, he'll give one example from the Shastra, from fear, from astonishment. Astonishment, can anyone give example from the Bhagavad Gita? Let us see where Stamba happened from the Bhagavad Gita. Who will answer? From the Bhagavad Gita. Stamba, astonishment, a paralysis because of astonishment. Vinita Harjani Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Prabhuji, it could be Virat Rup when Arjuna saw the Virat.
Yes, your guess is good. When he saw the Virat Purusha, Virat Rupa, Vishwarupa, so Arjuna was stunned. So Rupa Goswami also gives the example. So I hope you got it. Then perspiration. Perspiration, Shveda, arises from jubilation, fear, and anger. You sweat also when you're angry. So for all the 3, again, he gives example from the Shaurya. Then Romancha. The hair standing on the end is a sense of thrill in the body. Romancha arises from fear, astonishment, jubilation, and enthusiasm. Because of enthusiasm also Romancha can happen. And again, for all these 4, he gives example from the Shastra. Swara Beda, faltering of the voice. In this symptom, stammering is also observed, faltering of the voice. Swarabhed arises from despondency, wonder, anger, jubilation, and fear. So all these five reasons are there. Vepata, trembling, also arises because of fear, anger, and jubilation. And all the further three, he'll give examples. Change of color. In this symptoms, gloominess and emaciation are also observed. You become emaciated. Vivarna arises from despondency, anger, and fear. Ashru, cold tears arise from jubilation and hot tears from anger. In both, there is redness, restlessness, and rubbing of the eyes. They arise from again jubilation, anger, and despondency. And then there is loss of consciousness. Cessation of the function of the working and the knowledge equivalence and merging of the mind into the object of love. Pralaya. This is pralaya. Your mind is merged in the object of love. In this symptom, fainting is observed. Pralaya arises from happiness and distress. So again, these examples. So that's how quite elaborate, maybe around 60, 50, 60 verses are there, which are there in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And those who would like to go through that, we have done around 11 classes on that. So please, you have the free will to go through that. So after now discussing all this, I directly come to, there are intensities in which this manifests, and they are called as Dhumayata, Jwalita, Dipta, Uddipta, and Suddipta. So Dhumayata means smoky, when only one Sattviki bhav which can be concealed. Only one Sattviki bhav manifests. These Ashta Sattvik Vikars, only one can manifest, or two can manifest, or many can manifest, or all the eight can manifest also. And because the prana will interact with the earth, water, fire, all the elements sometimes, or only with one element. And when it is interacting with one element or many elements, it can have different intensities. So that is what is being discussed next by Rupa Goswami in the Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Sattviki Bhavas. So Dhumaita is smoky, one Sattviki Bhav which can be considered. Whereas Jwalita is luminous. Just like smoke. When the fire is little lit, there is only smoke. So only tears come from your eyes. But Jwalita is, there is no smoke now, the fire is burning. There are two or three Sattvik Bhavs at once, concealed with difficulty. There is Dipta, brilliance, 3 to 5 Sattvik Bhavs at once. This cannot be concealed. And Uddipta is very brilliant, 5 or more Sattvik Bhavs at once. And Suddipta is supremely brilliant, intense Uddipta state in Mahabhav. This is also called as Rudhi Bhav, which is only exhibited by Radharani and Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and the eternal associates in the spiritual world. Okay, now let's see these definitions. Sattvasya taratamyat pranatanushobha taratamyam syat tata eva taratamyam sarvesham satvikanam syat. Because of the variation in sattva, disturbance of the mind due to rati, again here Shuddha sattva, we should remember this. There is variation in the disturbance of the life years and body. In other words, tataiva, there is various degrees of all the Sattviki bhavs. So there are various degrees. Now I'm just going to read the translation. The Sattviki bhavs are of four types. There are four types. Four types. When they attain increasing degrees of intensity, Vridhim Yatottaram Yanta. Dhumayata, smoky, Jwalita, luminous, Dipta, and Uddipta. Of course, Suddipta he doesn't describe here because it is very rare. All the Sattviki bhavas in the Ruksha state, in a person without reality, remain generally in the Dhumayata level. Prayo Dhumayata eva tishtanti. So somebody who doesn't have a real rati for the Lord, and suddenly he hears from a pure devotee the qualities of Krishna, how Putana is delivered, maybe what will happen? There might be some level of hair standing on end or astonishment. So they are, they are on the Dhumaita level. The Satviki bhavs in the Snigdha state, Snigdhastu, appear in all four levels. So those who have Snigdha, that is real Rati, either in the Mukhya or Gaun, they can appear in all four, Dhumaita, Jwalita, Dipta, and Sudipta. So this is further understanding is here. Then he goes into each of the definitions. So we will just see these definitions. Tatra Dhumayata. Advitiyami bhava atava sa द्वितीयका द्वितीयकाः ईषद् व्यक्त्या अपनोत्तम shakya dhumaita. Any satviki bhav which appears alone, advitiya ami bhava, or with others, atva sa dvitiyakaha, which manifests slightly, ishad vyakta, can be hidden by the individual. Apahotum shakya is called dhumaita satviki bhav. So this is the definition of dhumaita sattva. It appears alone or with others, but manifests only slightly, and which can be hidden. Ata jwalita. So what is jwalita? When two or three satviki bhavs, te dhav trayo va yugapat yanta, appear very clearly, suprakatam dasham, and can be concealed only with difficulty, shakya krichena ni notum. They are called jwalita satviki bhavs. Jwalita iti kirtita. So this is the definition of jwalita. And then again, as I'm saying, there are examples for Dhumaita, Jwalita, which Rup Goswami gives, and I'm not taking the examples here. Ata Dipta. When 3, 4, or 5 Satviki bhavs, 3, Chatura, Va, Pancha, appear strongly, Praudam Vyaktim, Yugapad Gata, and cannot be concealed, Samvaritum, Ashakyas, they are called Dipta Satviki bhavs. Te Dipta, Dhirer Udharitha. And then Ata Uddipta. Ekada Vyaktimapanna, Panchasa Sarva Eva Va, Arudha Paramotkarsham Uddipta iti Kirtita. When 5, 6, or all the Satviki bhavs, Apanna Panchasa Sarva Eva, manifest at once, Ekada Vyaktim, in their most extreme form, Arudha Paramotkarsham, they are called Uddipta Satviki bhavs. These are Uddipta. Further, when yatra all the Uddipta Satviki bhavs, Sarva Uddipta, appear in Mahabhave Bhavanti Ami, they are called Suddipta Satviki bhavs. Eva Suddipta. All the Satviki bhavs attain their highest state in Mahabhav. Parama Kotim Vibharti. So these are all manifested in the eternal associates. So that is about the intensity. Again, as I said, I'm not going to the examples, but I will take one example and show it to you so that you are clear and satisfied also. Let's go to 72 verse. Yeah. Atha Dhumayata. After Dhumayata, we know that slightly it appears. Then there is Jiva Goswami's commentary. Then example. When the performer of sacrifice, Purohoda, heard a Karanyam, the glories of Krishna, Aga Vairi Kritim, killing Agasura, Agaharam, the tips of his eyes filled with few tears. Pakshamagre Mishra Viralashur Abhut. Hair stood up on his cheeks, and a few drops of perspiration appears on his nose. In this way, his lotus face shone. The symptoms are light. The person has Ruksha Satviki bhavs. So there was some yajna performer of a yajna. He was not like having real rati. But when he heard about the killing of Agasura, my goodness. So he manifested this. So this is one example And as I mentioned for Dhumaita, this is example. This is for the Dhumaita. So then he will give for the Jwalita, for the Dipta, then Suddipta, all the examples he gives. But I have only taken this one example, and here we end the discussion on that because this is just an overview. Where is Dhumita? Dhumita, I'm just keep storing this example in the slides. Now, after mentioning this, one of the most important things is to understand that all these Sattvika bhavas can be imitated, artificially. And what are the false forms? This is the last part of the discussion. So there are these four types of false forms. The Ratyabhas Bhava Satvikabhas generated by Ratyabhas. This we have known of. Sattva Abhas Bhava Satvikabhas generated by a touch of emotions. And there is Nisattva generated by practice. Like, actors in their, while the film is being shooted, they start crying. Nisattva, there is no actual feeling emotion in the heart, but they manifest by practice. And Pratipa is generated by enemies of Krishna. These, okay, so let's see this last part first. Okay. This is from 82, 83. Kimcha. However, Athatra, four types, Chaturvidha, of Abhas of Sattviki Bhav, Sattvika Abhas, should be described. Vilikhyante. They are called Ratyabhav, Ratyabhas Bhav, generated by Ratyabhas, Sattvabhas Bhav, generated by Sattvabhas, Nisattva, false Sattva, and Pratipa. These are listed in order from the superior to the inferior forms. So this is superior, Ratyabhas, because there is some Abhas of Rati. But Sattva Abhas is generated from Sattva, not from Shuddha Sattva. And Nisattva is, it's completely false. And then there are the enemies. Okay, the first one, Tatra Adhya. Ratyabhas, Bhav Sattvika Bhas, symptoms which appear to be Sattviki Bhavs, generated from Ratyabhas, described previously, arise in people desiring liberation. Mumukshu Pramukheshu. So those who desire liberation, they don't have real rati for the Lord, but coming in contact with something, they might experience. Okay, the example, Yata. When a person living in Varanasi Nivasis Kashchit, glorified the qualities of Hari repeatedly, I am Vyaharan Haresh Charitram, in the assembly of sannyasis, Yati Goshtyam, his hair stood on end, Utfullaka, and tears moistened his cheeks. Sanchayati Gandha Dvaim Ashray. So this Varanasi sannyasi is not having genuine devotion nor real rati. But somehow he is discussing the qualities of Hari, and the qualities of Hari are such that, uh, there's no rati in the heart, but there's just a semblance of rati which manifests in his heart. And because of that, he experiences these Sattvika bhavs. And that is why this is called as, what is it called? It is called as Ratyabhas Bhava Sattviki Abhas. It is Sattviki Abhas produced from Ratyabhas Bhava. Now, in the Jaiva Dharma also, Jiva Goswami gives the example of how in Varanasi there was a sannyasi who was just sitting in his kutir, and a very exalted Mahabhav, Premi Bhakta, was passing by, and being in ecstasy, Hey Krishna, he just called out and fainted in ecstasy and just rolled and then just went running. And just having darshan of this pure devotee had real rati for Krishna. And that real rati, a glimpse of it, you know, a shade of it manifested in his heart. And he also experienced certain ecstasy. So there was genuine rati, which was possessed by this sadhu, and this Mayavadi sannyasi just coming in touch. He also experienced, and he experienced some Sattviki bhavas. So the point here is that sometimes when we are in the temple during the festival, seeing the deities, tears might come from our eyes, or seeing the ecstatic kirtan, suddenly hairs might stand on end, or coming in contact with a real pure devotee who has real rati and bhava. That bhava, which is like the moon, reflects on our heart, and we might also experience these emotions. So it doesn't mean that we have real rati, but it is abhas of rati, which is manifested in us. And that's why there are sattviki bhavas. So that's why it is called as ratyabhas bhava sattvika bhas. I hope this is very clear to you all. If you have any questions also, you can ask. And then after this, then he says, Ata Sattvabhas Bhava, Sattvabhas. When a shadow of joy, astonishment, and other emotions appear in the heart of a person who is soft by nature, that is sentimental, Shlatte Hriday, the heart is said to have developed a state of Sattvabhas Bhavas. From this state of Sattvabhas, Tata, arise symptoms similar to Sattviki Bhav. They were called as Sattvabhas Bhav. So, some movie he's seeing and suddenly becomes sentimental and some emotions appear. Now, these emotions are not coming from the soul. He's soft by nature. And that is why, he experiences these either joy, especially, today, sad and fortunate that these kind of emotions which are manifested because of sattva abhas, they are equated to devotion and they become very famous. you know some emotion which is experienced, you know and this is because a person's nature is heart is soft. Slapte hridaya, it is mentioned. And the actually it is a state of sattvabhas. And from this state of sattvabhas, the symptoms which arise are called as sattviki bhavs, and that's why they are called as sattvabhas bhava sattviki bhav. I hope it is clear. Okay, and is there any example for this? Yeah, there is an example. So let's take one example so that I'll give each of one example. This is in okay, the example is in verse 88. Yes. Okay, here is the example for that sattva. An example, when an aged person expert in Mimamsa scriptures, Jaran Mimangsha Syapi, heard the pastimes of Krishna, Shanvata Krishna, be Brahmam, he became joyful in heart, Rishtayamana Manaso, and his hair stood on end. These persons do not even have superficial attraction for Krishna, whereas those with Ratyabhas have superficial attraction for Krishna. Thus, it is considered inferior to Ratyabhas, Bhav, Satvikabhas. However, they develop some temporary emotions such as joy or astonishment, which produce ecstatic symptoms such as hair standing on end. So this is the subtle difference between the two. And I gave examples of, somebody is very soft at heart and suddenly he hears something uh, and then suddenly these emotions he manifests. So this is what. Then Nisattva. When a person has a hard heart and practices exhibiting the Sattviki bhavas, even without a touch of emotion, the appearance of tears and other symptoms are called Nisattva. And we all know in the dramas, especially in movie characters, they all do this. And Atha Pratipa. Sattvic bhav within the enemies of Krishna, generated from anger or fear, is called Pratipa Sattvika Bhas. Like the enemies of Krishna, when they are fighting, suddenly there might be anger against Krishna, and that anger interacts with the prana element, and then there is, maybe sweat. This is Sattvic bhav, but it is Pratipa. It is not in direct relation to Krishna because they are enemies of Krishna. So that ends the discussion. But again, I'll give two examples for Nisattva and Nisattva and Nisattva and Pratipa. Let's take these examples from this is verse 90. I will insert these also here. Nisattva, yes. Example. When a person, though hearing the pastimes of the Lord, does not feel either happiness or distress because of the hardness of the heart, how can tears constantly flow from the eyes? It must be from practice alone that the tears flow. So sometimes, especially the Sahajiyas, they have no love for in the heart. And they come and, I remember many years back when I joined first time in 2002. And after 15 days, we went to a trip to Jagannath Puri with one of the sannyasis. And in that trip, I was sitting in a temple of not Tota Gopinath, Khirchor Gopinath. And we devotees were chanting, and one person came and just took the beads, and just tears started rolling from his eyes. And we were surprised, what is this? And then we had to ask Maharaj, and Maharaj clarified everything. So he is hearing or he's chanting, does not feel anything because of the hardness, but tears are constantly coming. This is because of practice. This is because of practice. So that is Nisattva. And there is one more example now, last for Pratipa. Pratipa. Let us take the example from Pratipa. This is 93. From anger, from Harivansh. When with red lower lips and trembling upper lips, Kamsa's face appeared like a sun red with anger. So these are the enemies of Krishna. His lips became red. There's a transformation, Vaivarnya. And that is because of anger. There is no actual rati he possesses. So this is Pratipa example. So that comes to the discussion, end of the discussion of Sattvika Bhav. Sattvika Bhav, we saw that there are three types: Snigdha, Digdha, and Ruksha. And within Snigdha, there is the experience who have real rati coming from primary, that is Shan, Das, Satya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya, from the Gaun Rasas, Karuna Ras, Bibhatsya Ras, Raudra Ras, and the experience by devotees not directly related to Rasa with Krishna. Like in the dream, Mother Yashoda saw that Putana and she experienced Sattviki Bhavs. But she has real rati for Krishna, please remember. And then she's having anxiety and she's going and looking for where is Krishna. Ruksha is because they are experienced persons with Ratyabhas. They don't have real rati. And then we saw this Ashta Sattvik Bhavs, and each can happen because of anger or fear or jubilation or so many things. And each of them are defined by Rupa Goswami. And for each of them, arising from joy, arising from fear, examples are given, which is actually the major portion here in the southern division, Sattvika Bhav. which we did not discuss in detail, which will take around 6-7 classes because each of them we have to study, each of the examples we have to go through, which you can do in the detailed study. And then Dhumayata, Jvalita, Dipta, Udipta, Siddipta. This again, the intensity, each is defined, and then each examples are also given. I took only one example for Dhumayata. And then there are false forms of Sattvic Bhav, the Ratyabhas Bhav Sattvika Bhas, the Sattvabhas Bhav Sattvika Bhas, and then Nisattva and Prati. For each of these, we saw examples. So that completes the overview discussion on Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu Southern Division, components of Rasa, Satvik Bhav. So tomorrow we will take up Vavichari Bhav, and then we will go into the discussion of Stahi Bhav, which is very, very important. Okay, any questions, any clarifications anyone has? Yes, Veer Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Prabhu,
Yeah.
Prabhu, I have
Can
two
you speak
questions.
a little loudly, please?
Hare Krishna, now am I audible?
Yes, you're clear now.
Prabhu, I have two questions. First question, Prabhu, this Sattvika Bhavas appearing because of this emotions like joy, fear, astonishment, disappointment. So these emotions, Prabhu, can we say कि it is also Uddipan, kind of Uddipan for Sattvika Bhava?
No, no, no. They're not Uddipans. Do you mean the cause of Satviki Bhavas?
Yes, yes, yes. Yes.
The cause of Satviki Bhavas, they can, there has to be the Vibhav. There has to be Vibhav. First of all, there has to be the Stahi Bhav. Because for rasa to happen, all these bhavas combine and give rise to rasa. So there has to be a Stahi Bhava of, say, example, Vatsalarati. And because of that Vatsalarati, there is the Vibhav, the object of love, and there is the Ashray. There is the Alamban, Vishaya and Ashray. Now, Uddipans for Uddipans, also there can be like the hair standing on end can be Mother Yashoda is seeing that the sunset is happening and the Goldoli is happening, and she is expecting that Krishna is coming. She has not yet seen Krishna. So her hair might stand on end. So yes, there is no doubt that it can happen because of the Uddipans, the causes of Rati. But please remember that the causes of Satviki Bhavas are because of the emotions springing from the soul, which interact with the prana, and then there is the transformation in the body. But the core, but this there is there is actual rati for Krishna, and the rati has to be there. Otherwise, it is not Satviki Bhav. It is maybe Ratyabhas Satviki Bhav, as we saw. Yes, definitely from Uddipan also, you can experience the Sattvic Bhavs. Vibhav has to be there, and within Vibhav, this division of Uddipan is there. Excellent. Very nice question. Very thoughtful question. Yes, Prabhuji, I mean the second question.
And Prabhu, one more point, Prabhu. This I'll come to second question, Prabhu. The second question, Prabhu, these four types of abhas, sattvika bhava, they are definitely not sattvika bhava. They are just, um, it is kind of,
They are false forms.
they're false. They're false.
Correct.
So it is put here just to identify that we should be very clear ki,
Whether it is actually Sattvic Bhav or it is real or imitation.
Yes.
That is it.
So only when we study that the intensity of Sattvika Bhava, like Uddipta, Deepta, Jwalant, if those categories are there, then only it is Sattvika Bhava. Otherwise, it is false.
Yes, 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 yes. Now, another thing also we should remember that even if somebody experiences Ratya Bhas, Bhav, Sattvika Bhas, he doesn't have real Rati, but that can be, that emotion, even devotees who are practicing sadhakas, they might experience these emotions in relation to deities or dham or pure devotees or while chanting. Uh, Sometimes it might happen, and that is favorable in one sense. That is favorable, and that can be inspiring in our spiritual life. But actually, you should also have a clear understanding that it is not actually real Rati. It is Ratyabhas, Abhas of Rati. And this discussion is dealt in the Eastern division of Bhava Bhakti. When Bhava Bhakti is being discussed, there in detail, here Rupa Goswami goes into the analysis there. So from there only we are continuing this discussion. So that's why I'm not going to go into the details. But among them, this is, if the devotees are experiencing this, we have to understand it is not because of real rati, but it is favorable. And others who experience this, if they come in contact with the devotee, then they might take up to devotion. So they are, in that sense also, they are favorable. But all the other three, they are, they are inferior, very inferior. That's why the gradation is done accordingly. Is it okay?
Right, Prabhu. And Prabhu, one more clarification. This we said that Sattvika Bhava manifests when from uh, uh,
The har,
from
the
from
emotional
heart.
aspect,
Yes, from heart.
emotional aspect of the
So that condition will appear only when chitta is completely
purified,
spiritual, completely
completely purified.
spiritualized.
Yes, yes. That is the
Yes.
first condition even Bhaktivinoda Thakur in the Jaiva Dharma mentioned, when the chitta, when the purified consciousness. So Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma, Prema
So
Surancha Samebhag. So we have to
so
remember
that
Bhava Bhakti definition. Shuddha Sattva Visheshatma. You should be on the Shuddha Sattva platform. That means,
that means it is necessarily bhava stage,
yes,
100%.
it is Bhava stage. Because at the only stage of Bhava, then, Bhava is Rati. Uh, the the all these bhavas combine and give rise to rasa. We our rasa with Krishna is revealed. Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, especially Sakya, Dasya, Vatsalya, and Madhurya. And we start experiencing spiritual emotions because we are on the liberated platform. So the Stahi Bhav is also revealed, our Swarupa, and Krishna also reveals himself, and there is reciprocation exchange of rasa. Just to give you a simple example, the husband and wife. I was just giving this example just for your understanding. Don't stretch it to there are many other facets you can stretch to, but just for understanding, husband and wife have Madhurya Ras, and only when the child is born, the mother, now she is not wife, she's also mother now. The mother, now her stahi bhav towards the child was not there. When the child is born, she's also born in one sense. The mother is born. The wife is now a mother. She's also takes birth because there is the birth of Vatsalya. And there is the object, which is her child, and there is reciprocation. So similarly, when there is Shuddha Sattva Visheshatmas Prema Suryansha Samabhag, there is the birth of the rasa because Krishna reveals himself and there is exchange of rasas. There is a stahi bhav which is revealed. And that's why there is, the stahi bhav with other bhavas combine and give rise to rasa. I hope it is clear.
Right, bro. Thank you very much, bro. Thank you, Mr. Tandon.
Any other questions anyone else has? Vinita Mataji, yes.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji. Prabhuji, in my that concept is not very clear. Prana connects. Like prana is the
I'm not
vayu
able
in
to
the
hear
body.
you clearly. Maybe you have to go very close to the mic.
You explained that no, when prana connects with ether, prana connects with
Oh, your voice is
air.
breaking, Mataji. Can you record and send it so that we'll
Yeah,
put?
sure. Yes, I'll do it.
Okay, so we will stop here. So we have completed now the overview of Sattvik Bhav. Tomorrow we will start with the overview of Vyabhichari Bhav. And then from next week onwards, we will start with the verse by verse discussion on Stahi Bhav, which will be around 12 to 15 classes. Thank you very, very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Shri Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu ki jai. Srila Rupa Goswami Pad ki jai. Hare Krishna.